Hello there people, my name is Benjamin, or Bend for short, and welcome back to the Mario Kart Retrospective, the series of videos that may or may not piss off the entire Mario Kart community. Today we talk about the very latest Mario Kart that I'm sure you're pretty tired of hearing about, cause we've essentially been playing the same Mario Kart for a decade, a literal decade. But before talking about the actual game, let me just say thank you for the amazing response to the earlier videos in this series, especially the Wii episode. I can't really put it into words how happy it made me seeing the overwhelming positive response to that video, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And because of all of this, I decided that this video should be a lot less scripted in the sense that I usually do, letting you hear more of my silly yet sorta entertaining side. So to start with, let's get one question out of the way. Is this a video about 8 or 8 Deluxe? The answer is both, but mainly Deluxe, given it's the definitive edition. So as is tradition, let's roll a little intro thing. For this video, I'll go over my personal experience with the game mostly, but I'll briefly touch upon the wider community every now and then. And since everyone seems to love splitting their videos into chapters, I'll do that here as well. So, Chapter 1, the new editions. The last game I covered here on the channel was Wii, and a lot has happened between 2008 and 2014. So fair warning, a lot of the new stuff I mention here stems from Mario Kart 7 originally. So why not begin with the most notable addition coming in the form of the graphics? Cause any way you slice this shit, this is an incredibly pretty game even on the old Wii U. And that just goes to show you how much art style matters instead of chasing photorealism. And while I remain salty to this day that this game still isn't as vibrant as Double Dash, at some point even I and the other dumbasses need to admit that this is by far the best looking Mario Kart. And most of you probably don't even know what the hell a Wii U is, so here it is. This is the console Nintendo released in between the Nintendo Wii and the Switch. So think of it as the awkward middle child that sold incredibly poorly, but still managed to capture just about like 18 million people's hearts. Cause man, this is Nintendo's absolute worst selling console with some of the greatest games actually. And you should know, cause most of them are on the Switch right now. But, you know, despite its reputation, despite most of the hate it gets nowadays for both performance and questionable marketing decisions, I really love it. And if you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, you should know, because one of my first, major popular videos was my retrospective of the Wii U. And today it might be a little bit outdated, but I wouldn't be against doing a remake of that, so if you're up for something like that, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to consider the idea. Otherwise, if we're talking about the actual game, then gliding and driving underwater as well as being able to drive on walls and upside down with the anti-gravity wheel thing comes to mind as the newest additions. I really like one of those things, but the other two, nah. Gliding is such a natural addition, and it's genuinely pretty fun. Although if you think about the physics for it all, it probably doesn't make much sense. But I mean, what does, I guess? You're already throwing shells and bananas at overgrown monkeys, so... Driving underwater does nothing for me. It's the exact same thing as driving on land, except for a few physics changes. And driving on walls... Okay, who asked for this? This might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I really never ever found this gimmick all that interesting. I might be old school and weird here, but I'd rather have multiple paths be done like it is in the Ninja Hideaway stage. You know, driving up that random stairway, pretty cool. Gliding to a higher level, also pretty cool. Driving on a wall for seemingly no reason. I'd rather not. Summarize the whole anti-gravity thing for me feels like change for the sake of change rather than an evolution or something substantially different. But that reminds me, this is a Nintendo problem in general. Take the #1 victim of that being Star Fox. Nintendo, or rather Miyamoto I guess, really hates evolving an established piece of gameplay unless it also does something completely different. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, change apparently has to happen. Thus, Star Fox Zero happened. And yes, I still like that game, cause I got used to the controls, but does that mean that's how the game ideally should have been played? No. And while this isn't nearly as severe here with Mario Kart, as far as I see, the anti-gravity thing really adds nothing to the gameplay, but it's different at least, so I guess Miyamoto got the last laugh anyway. Another addition from 7 making its return is the kart customization. This is a really cool addition and always something I enjoyed. Karts are now split into 3 categories, being the actual kart itself, the wheels, and the glider. And each of them affects stats in different ways, so for once you can make that dream vehicle that works best for you. And if that wasn't enough, bikes return here as well, only now without that overpowered wheelie thing, so what we're left with is the main difference, being that they drift a bit differently. So, oh yeah, and coins from the first Mario Kart also return after also returning in 7, but let's not break the hype. Otherwise, it's the usual. A few new items here and there, a terrible battle mode in 8 that thankfully was fixed in Deluxe, and I guess now the largest amount of tracks in any other Mario Kart, thanks to the DLC. So in short, there's a lot of stuff here. You know, characters, tracks, customization, smart steering BS that you probably should turn off if you have any self-respect. And it's almost like the game is a bit too perfect for its own good. And while that sounds strange and maybe even silly to some of you people, I feel like Nintendo is at its best when it does the more quirky stuff like the whole GameCube era itself. But part of me also wonders if this might just be a remnant of the whole Wii U era where everything felt a bit too safe. But by now you should know that a game being safe doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. So let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this thing. Chapter 2, the gameplay. Is anyone surprised that I say that this is literally the best controlling Mario Kart ever? No? I think so. I mean, we're way past the days of sliding around like an ass after trying to drift and such, so we've come a long way! The game is nice and easy to pick up and play all the way from 50 to 150cc. Although 200cc does not feel nice, I don't care what you say, none of the tracks are designed to be played at 200, so while you can, why would you? Ever played a Pokemon game on an emulator where you speed up the game and then fail over and over when trying to walk into a building? That's 200cc. For once, the item balancing feels just right. I think the addition of coins as an item really helps break the cursed banana and green shell combo first place has known for years. Otherwise, the Fire Flower is pretty nice as a new addition from 7, same as the Crazy 8, which really just replaces the Lucky 7. Which means that whenever Mario Kart 9 shows up, we're almost certainly getting some kind of 9 item thing. But if you're asking me, which I assume you do if you're watching this, then I think the biggest improvement 8, and by definition 8 Deluxe as well, made upon the controls themselves is the drifting and handling improvements. And while that might sour some people's sick sense of hard-to-master gameplay itch, I don't see anything wrong with it. But then in this whole package we have the low point of the game being the anti-gravity thing, as I mentioned before, because wow, that's such a boring gimmick. Yeah, I miss the days when we got unique stuff like in Double Dash, and even speaking upon the whole anti-gravity thing, other games like Sonic Riders Zero Gravity did that whole concept a whole lot better anyway. Maybe this is me being weird, I mean, it's not the first time, but I still can't let it go. Anyway, as we've touched upon how it feels to play the game, let's move on to what's become my favorite part of these videos, and that's Chapter 3, the tracks. Remember how I said that Mario Kart Wii had some of the best tracks in the entire series? Well, while that's still true, Mario Kart 8 has it beaten because it pretty much has all of the good tracks from that game anyway. And it's here that I want to bring up the fact that the tracks in the base game of 8, you know, before all of the DLCs, were pretty boring. But after the first wave of DLC, which not only added 2 cups, also opened up the series to more than just Mario characters. You know, I finally got my boy Link, so you know I was happy. So it shouldn't come as a surprise then that when 8 Deluxe got even more DLC in the form of the Booster Course Pass, which includes 48 more tracks. It's pretty hard to beat this game in terms of tracks. I mean, you can't lose if you have every stinking track ever made, or at least every track that people care about, I guess. And for the record, Ninja Hideaway is currently my favorite track in 8 Deluxe, with Yoshi's Island in second. So if anything, that should speak to the quality of the DLC tracks. Basically, there is something for everyone. Which also goes for the sound, because as usual, the sound effects and music really are top notch. The menu even does that cool thing where it adds more instruments the deeper you go. I guess I forgot to mention that Wii also does that, huh? And one of my favorite but kinda pointless additions is that some of the tracks even got special after race songs and intro sequences. Gotta love hearing the roost in a Mario Kart game. Perfect for crying. Which you'd probably do if you've played the original battle mode in 8. Also, Chapter 4, the battle mode. Upon the release of Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, the battle mode was a bit lacking. And that's to say, my god, this was ass. You know, the old games had various different modes. To everyone's surprise then, Mario Kart 8 launched with only Balloon Battle. And that's also on top of the fact that there was no real battle mode stages, instead opting for reused normal tracks, which you can imagine didn't work out that well. Although teams from Wii also returned as an option if you really wanted to.
It just feels like I'm looking for people the majority of the time. And then when I finally find them, they just kind of run away. So I don't know. Oh, there's Daisy. Oh, okay, bye. Oh, there's Metal Mario again. Guess we're going around here. Eventually find some. Wait, could that be actually? No. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, no, shit, Rosalina. No, don't go. Okay, she left. Oh, Wario. Oh my god, we actually got someone for one. Jeez. Oh, hey. No!
In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, then, this was all fixed. Literally all of it. Deluxe brought in 5 brand new battle mode maps and 3 retro ones. It also brought back actual modes outside of Balloon Battle. My beloved Bomb Bomb Blast and Shine Thief returned from Double Dash. Even Coin Runners from Wii made its way here. And to top it all off, there's a new mode called Renegade Roundup, which is basically a cop and thief kind of game. AKA, one team, being the thieves, tries to run away from the cops and so on. No other Mario Kart has such an incredible battle mode, let alone such an interesting development history. Going from the absolute worst battle mode in the series to pretty much the best is no small feat. And that also conveniently applies to the online battle mode, cause hey, online is pretty reliable now. Chapter 5, Online Play. Playing online was always something I really enjoyed in both DS and in Wii, although even at the time the system itself was a bit primitive. But later on, with 7 and 8, the system was way more modernized with the introduction of communities and later on tournaments. This naturally expanded the social aspect of the game for people like me trying to interact with their audiences. And while that's great and all, I am genuinely confused as to why we still cannot even vote on any stage we want when playing online, nor can we even filter the online play with only DLC or not. I mean, would it be so bad to have a system like the preferred rules in Smash Bros. Ultimate? Otherwise, there's not really anything that I have to complain about, given that the performance is quite literally perfect for 99% of the time. As for the rest of the video, I don't really know how to categorize it more than I already have, so instead let's dive into my final thoughts about basically everything else. Chapter 6, Final Thoughts. Around 2013, I was busy playing Mario Kart 7 on my 3DS. I played time trials just about every night and I really had a blast. But later on in the year, when Mario Kart 8 got its first trailer, something changed. The game initially didn't capture my interest, cause in my eyes it looked more like a 7 HD. And because of that initial reaction to the game, it took me a while to even get the game even after it was released. But even after I got the game, it wasn't really as I usually do it. Because normally I try and buy all of my Nintendo games physically. Even so, Mario Kart 8 remains the one and only I ended up going digital for. And for me, that's a huge thing. And sure, it sounds silly to most of you probably, but for me it really signifies how little I cared for the game at first. And even later when the DLC came, sure, it was nice, but it didn't hold my attention for very long. But later on, when 8 Deluxe came out, I really bounced back and started to appreciate the game for what it actually was. I mean, sure, it wasn't perfect, but it was a hell of a lot better than what I remembered. And later on, when 8 Deluxe got its own DLC in the form of the Booster Course Pass, things got even better. So you can kinda see how the game itself got better and better as time moved on for me. And a fun fact here, I guess. When I first got my recording equipment all those years ago, the game I chose to record was Mario Kart 8. So I guess because of that, this game holds some sentimental value, given it's kinda related to the channel's development history, so to say. So after all is said and done, I really like both of the games, although obviously 8 Deluxe a bit more. It's not my favorite by any means, but if it happens to be yours, then all the more power to you. Remember that my complaints are formed out of my perspective and history with the franchise. And with that, I think I've gotten pretty much everything that I wanted to say about this game out into the open. Instead, I want to hear what you think of this game. Do I have a point in anything, or am I just completely stupid? Well, it's up to you. And before we end things off, I really want to thank you once again for the continued support, because nothing, and I really mean nothing, makes me happier than seeing the fun comments that these videos get. And finally, yes, this is the last part in the Mario Kart Retrospective for quite a while, given I'll tackle the handhelds a bit later. Now, if you're anything like me, aka being a Nintendo fan, I urge you to stay around, because you won't want to miss what comes next. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.